We are from the sex workers, resistance and advocacy movement. Today is the International Workers' Day, 1st of May. We think about workers across the world and all the struggles that they have, and yet sex workers in the UK have no rights. You have no rights in a criminalised workplace. Sorry. I'll try a different style. Sex workers in the UK are criminalised, they are victimised, and they are stigmatised. And if you happen to be a sex worker of colour, a trans sex worker, or a gay sex worker, you will be further criminalised, further stigmatised, and further victimised. By definition, the police and immigration... You want to hold it for me? You'll hold it for me. I'll lean on my pal here. By definition, the police and immigration are forces of the state and enforce the repressive legal regime that keeps us from accessing our labour rights. The police have never been the friends of sex workers. They support and reproduce the legal system that patronises us, that seeks to make decisions about us. They tell us who we are, what we need, what is good for us, how we will work and who we will work with. Already, under the current legislation, our workplaces are criminal, and there are no labour rights in a criminalised workplace. The police can raid and close our brothels, our saunas, our parlours, and our working flats. Sex workers on the streets can be fined and arrested for soliciting. And during the COVID pandemic, raids and arrests not only continued, but increased. Police violence against sex workers is a very common experience for us. They take away our earnings, they close down our workplaces and force us to work alone and in dangerous situations. They do not protect us from the crimes and harms committed in our workplace. The violence, the robberies, the fraud, the threats, the stalking and harassment, the outing, the breaking of our contracts and the breaching of our consent. When these crimes are committed, the police and judicial state do not give us access to justice. It is... It is clear that our liberation is never going to come from more police interference, scrutiny, or surveillance.
Go on, Gary.
Ready? Next one. Yeah. We do not, already, we avoid the police. Already, we do not report crimes that are committed against us. And sex workers firmly oppose any laws that put any more power in the hands of the police. Hidden in this police bill is an amendment to criminalise the buyers of sex workers. And they claim, this Nordic model, that they will decriminalise sex workers themselves. This is a false ideology not based on evidence. Where are we? What's more, this action is led by the Labour Party. The Labour Party is supposed to
We agree.
Sex workers are really in fear of the Labour Party. That should not be so. They should be helping us gain our rights. Where are we? Oh no. Under the Nordic model. The evidence about the Nordic model shows us And this in France, in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland. No, turn back, man. She's too fast. She's too fast.
Sorry.
That it will make us less safe, right? It leads to more arrests, more raids, more surveillance, more interaction with police, more deportations of sex workers, more evictions of sex workers from their homes, greater intrusion into their private lives, their children, their families, their marriages, and more, ultimately, more violence. We are more at risk under the Nordic model. Post-COVID, we all know there is a massive recession coming. And the Labour Party wants women, predominantly women in sex work, but all those other marginalised groups who do sex work to alleviate their grinding poverty, they want us to stay there. They don't want us to have our rights, right? And then in parallel with other workers, we want rights. We want safety. We want to work in well-lit, safe streets. We want to work together indoors for safety. We want to be able to collaborate to set prices, set boundaries, set practices, and make sure that those are not breached. We want to be able to take exploiters in housing and other places, workplaces. We want to be able to challenge them. We want our rights as any other worker would have. The biggest driver of sex work has never been the buyers of sex. Sex workers work for money. It is poverty and the desire to alleviate our poverty that makes us work. The Nordic model will drive us into the hands of criminals, exploiters, and violent men who pose as clients. The Nordic model makes it more likely that we will be murdered. When we talk about violence against women, we must not forget sex workers. When we... We deserve protection from violence and safety in our workplaces like anybody else. We do not want any further criminalisation of sex work under any guise. We want sex work taken out of criminal law and placed within the labour rights movement. I'm going to say it again. There are no rights in a criminalised workplace. And only the full decriminalisation of all parties in sex work will lead to, will enable us to join unions and organise our workplaces. Last bit. Last bit. Are you? When you leave here today, your Leeds residents, go home, go on Facebook, go on Decrim Now. There is a pro forma letter. Fill it in, send it to your MP, lobby them. Please do it, because our lives truly depend on you killing this bill.